Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise. It is this Monday morning. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
And a very wonderful Monday to you all out there. I'm Kayla Magwa.
It's the 22nd day in the month of April. I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Hello, yeah, so tell us, talk to us.
Well, this is, we asked once, Chamberlain, where this was, if anyone could tell us. But I can tell you now, this is the Bagada interchange. The road, just that trailer truck is going towards the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway heading outward Lagos. If that's the way you're going, the one that goes to the right goes to the Third Mainland Bridge, and that bridge under the one going to Ibadan is coming from the Third Mainland Bridge, which of course is a one that we all know quite well. So if you're wondering where this is Lagos, right? It's not in China. And that blue bridge, that blue infrastructure you see right above there is the overhead, is the pedestrian bridge across the expressway when you are at that end. There are quite a number of bus stops on that place, and it is a beautiful, beautiful skyline that you can see here in Lagos. Well, Chamberlain, I know, I'm not talking about Kayla, I know that you, Chamberlain, sometimes miss the sight in Lagos, but hey, this is what we have right now. Our temperature at this time is 22 degrees, feels like 31, and the humidity is 87%. Again, I say, this is Lagos. So what's happening today, Chamberlain?
Well, it's 28 degrees centigrade here in Abuja. So pretty warm weather, even though it's a bit humid. And so, yes, we could all do with a lot more stability in the power sector. Of course, we have to talk about that because it's only recently that the tariff, for the so-called band AS was hiked by what? How many percent now? So
300.
even if it's 14, 13, 15 million, however. So yes, indeed, quite a number of things will happen today. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the dailies right now.
We begin a review of some of the papers this morning with the Vanguard newspaper, which leads with top manufacturers list woes, incur 266 billion naira losses in 1 year. And the writers plan further price increase. Our cost of sales jumped 64%. That's according to Boa Foods. Economy grappling with cost-push inflation, that's according to Adori. NB, Dangote, others intensify backward integration. All of that leads the paper, the Vanguard newspaper, this morning. The Guardian newspaper is next, and what do you have on its front page? Used vehicles, import slumps 32% as dealers trade safety for survival. Salvage titles. That lead story has some riders. 86% of vehicles classified as accidented. Clean used vehicles average cost $9,000. Salvaged car average cost in US $1,500. 70% plying Nigerian roads are used cars. Average repair cost of salvage car in Nigeria is $300 versus $2,500 in the US. All of that packed on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Go to Business Day, and it leads with Dangote diesel hits market in threat for European refiners. The meaning of that is better explained on the inside pages of the Business Day newspaper this morning. How about Daily Times newspaper? FG to roll out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles before May 29. That story is on page 4. To deliver 100 conversion workshops, 60 refueling sites, spread across 18 states. Find the details of that story on the inside pages of the Daily Times newspaper. Daily Independent has this one about banks recapitalization. Fear of injection of illicit funds into weak lenders heightens. What does that mean? Get the details on the inside pages. Ex-Nigeria Airways staff, 20 years after FG yet to clear 34 billion naira severance package. Heartbreaking, isn't it? But the details you find on the inside pages of Daily Independent newspaper this morning. Blueprint has this one with 40-year term, 10-year moratorium. FG set to secure $2.25 billion World Bank loan at 1% interest. Target AFDB low-interest funding and Bretton Woods-funded electricity. Despite Naira stability, expect ups and downs. That's according to Cardoso. Find the details of that on the inside pages of Blueprint newspaper this morning. This Nigeria newspaper leads with inflation, how FG's actions fuel high costs of goods. The details of the story is on page 2. Experts, traders, consumers identify erratic border closures, insecurity of farmers, extortion by security agents at checkpoints as major causes. Will address anti-competitive practices by cartels that restrict supply. That's according to FCC PC. That's the lead story of this Nigeria newspaper this morning. The Nigerian Observer has this on its own front page today, and it is something related to business, printing, advertising, rentals, others to see boom as campaign kicks off in Edo as governorship candidates to spend 17 billion naira on campaigns. Interesting times, isn't it? The details on the inside pages of the paper. Look at the New Telegraph. Naira abuse. Lawyers query EFCC's prosecutorial powers. Say only CBN police can prosecute culprits as offense, not economic crime. Well, here we go again. So I hear someone say. But that's a story you'll find the details of on the inside pages. Ondo 2024, Ayedatiwa coasts to victory as supporters of aggrieved aspirants storm party secretariat. Aspirants call for cancellation of election, allege irregularities. Details of that story on the inside pages. Page 23, to be precise. And these are some of the papers lined up for today.
Well, yeah, so economy, it's key. It should be, because, I mean, it's above all else to trounce politics. So while top manufacturers are just complaining and talking about listing their woes, as Vanguard highlights, how they're incurring this 266 billion naira losses in 1 year. So you just juxtapose that with what FG say they're doing, the kind of policies they are putting in place. I think one of the major ways that they can indeed measure whether or not the policies are yielding the kind of results they want or they desire, it's this kind of narrative, feedback coming through from those out there operating it, the private sector, the public sector, because you can't have a scenario wherein government agencies, you know, they prioritize the revenue that they have to make, almost always competing against private concerns as though they were a business. So policies are there to ensure that government agencies raking much more money to the detriment of the private sector or private companies, then that's a minus. That they need no telling to know that that policy should be reviewed drastically since yesterday, as some may say. But this Nigeria also listed some of the highlights about inflation. They listed some of the FG's actions that are just contributory, direct impact why we are experiencing some of these challenges. Well, high cost of goods, everybody knows that, yeah, something needs to be done about that. And then erratic border closure, insecurity of farmers, extortion by security agents at checkpoints. One of the unfortunate ones was the killing of a businessman in, I think, Abia, by a policeman who is said to have demanded bribe. So because the gentleman refused, shot him, rushed the gentleman to the hospital, but he couldn't make it. So those are the kind of things you see. We're hoping that the police say they will make the trial open, but something needs to be done to address those kind of things, the root cause. how do we have those kinds of policemen in the first place? How did they find their way into the system? So that is something that needs to be really, really reviewed. And then, much as it's good to see the EFCC saying we'll address competitive practices by cartels that restrict supply, we're only hoping, we try and read between the lines, or read the story and hear from them a little more. We're hoping that it's not just by going to the shops and shutting them down. That is no way. I don't think that will address it. It's got to be like a systematic approach, system-wide approach, not just by a certain EFCC. What capacity do they have? Is it only in Abuja or some of the other states, 2, 3 states, that this can happen? Do they have the capacity to ensure that all of these things happen? NAFDAC themselves are trying to ensure that they also develop the muscle. We know they've got capacity challenge in terms of the manpower. The will is there, but clearly, all these kind of narratives, FG should look at the feedback from all of these agencies, juxtapose them with your policy. That way you can know if you're taking 1 step forward or 3 backwards.
And, moving from, security there, and of course, talking about the economy there and the powers of the FCCPC and what it is that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Very important point to note right there, because, the prosecutorial powers of the FCCPC, something that has to be looked at. A lot of the times, like we saw in Abuja here, they negotiated, and then they're doing checks now. They say they go there every 2 weeks. They go to the shops that were closed every 2 weeks, to see if they are still carrying out those sharp practices. But I want you to talk a bit about security. This headline here from the Daily Trust newspaper: 2,583 Nigerians killed, 2,164 abducted in 3 months. In just 3 months. And this report, we're seeing from the National Security Advisor's Office. We have reduced casualty figures, says there are over 300 bandit warlords in the north. That is, for want of a better word, Chamberlain, it's crazy to think about 300 bandit warlords in northern Nigeria. How are you supposed to survive in such a place? Fleeing villagers storm Zamfara government house. It's gotten there. It's gotten there. Well, we'll be talking more on that from page 4 and page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper, by the way. But very worrisome situation that needs to be looked at. 300 bandit warlords. That's 300 interests. That's 300 people who are doing all kinds of things to get what they want. That's lawlessness from 300 warlords. It's a very worrisome figure. And I think as we go into the week, as we engage with security operatives throughout this week, that's something we should have at the back of our minds. 300 bandit warlords. That's an almost impossible situation. And this has gone on for too long. We've seen documentaries about it. We've seen people talk about it. We've had specials about it. It has gone on for too long. 300 is a very scary number of bandit warlords in a region. In the last government, we had people who were on the program and they told us that some of these bandits go to markets with their sling of arms, AK-47, AK-49 on their shoulders. They go to the market, members of the community see them, they buy stuff in the market, go back home, they trade, they go back home. We were told that on this program, it's on record. So how was it that at that time, those kind of things were going on? What did they do about it? I know the former president also did say they should shoot certain persons who are found bearing illegal arms. Did anybody get any reports of any such thing happening? Because there are people who still bear arms in this country, who many say, look, they see them, but it appears as though the authorities look the other way. Can those things be allowed to continue? And Chamberlain, there's a reason why this bandit law was able to thrive. They thrive on poverty. There's root cause. When we talk about insecurity in this country, one of the non-kinetic measures that have been, propagated by the military is the fact that you have to look at the root causes. The reason why they can walk around with their guns is because the people know them and maybe are receiving something from them. Yeah, but is that tenable? What is the law? What are law enforcement agents doing about that? You can't be seen to come down hard on a certain group and then look the other way or give them a slap on the wrist. That's another group. So you know that will definitely not
go very well in a society like ours.
Very, very, very touching words there. And, you know, the concern that you have raised, Kayla, is no less important. And I'm just hoping that we all will be able to do what we need to do to get those things out of the way. I mean, isn't that why we have politicians in office, as Chamberlain would often say, that you got the job, so do the job. And by the way, speaking about doing the job, the front page of the Nigerian Observer this morning piques my interest, particularly in the light of the primaries that took place over the weekend. Printing, advertising, rentals, others to see boom as campaign kicks off in Edo. Don't forget that it also happened in Ondo State. Ondo State over the weekend. I think it was just yesterday that it was the counts, you know, was done, and the governor, the incumbent governor, came tops at the primary in Ondo State. But look at this one. Governorship candidates to spend 17 billion naira on campaigns. So that is ongoing. And I guess who are the people that are going to be benefiting from it? You can see those in printing, advertising, rentals, and the like. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand is the law that allows them to do the spending. So who is going to be monitoring to ensure that the law is complied with? That's another thing as well, altogether. But you know, Chamberlain, I found something right on the front page of the Nigerian Observer that you looked at earlier. The picture on the front page of, beg your pardon, of this Nigeria newspaper that you looked at earlier. The picture of the young man who won, that picture right there, Tunde Onokoya, who set a world record for the longest time anyone is playing chess and winning. 58 long hours. Talk about Nigerians making Nigeria great in different parts of the world. I'll put that guy on that list any day, Chamberlain.
On that, so there you go. But let's also remind you some of the events to look out for today when you speak about security. The president, there's going to be this counter-terrorism summit that will be going on today in Abuja. So you've got persons like, well, the president, first of all, he's going to be there to open that counter-terrorism summit here in Abuja. It's an African counter-terrorism summit. So, and it's going to be with the support of the United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism. They are the ones organizing this high-level one. So, strengthening regional cooperation and institution building. They say they want to address the evolving threat of terrorism. So, that's part of what we expect to see play out today. So we'll hope, well, I know many will look to see that we'll get some direct impacts, direct results back home here, because we know we're grappling with those challenges. Yes, we acknowledge some of the narratives coming through from the NSA's office, but as you know, still some job to be done.
I mean, to take it away from summits and colloquiums and conferences.
You have to talk and plan.
But to move it from there to where we see it actually being implemented. That's where we are right now. They've started storming Government House in Zamfara, the people running away from insecurity. So it's best that they sort this out before we get to a situation where we cannot handle the problem.
Well, yeah, it's good. So if it's a safe haven, all government houses, people can go there. After all, what is the government house supposed to be for? Shelter for people. So if they have no other place,
it's the people's house.
Go there. If the government refuses, let them see what perhaps their aides have not told them. So it's not a bad idea, but I think the camera should also be there to capture it so that we all can see it. Because what did they say about the revolution? It'll be televised.
You want to televise?
Oh dear. Okay, I didn't plan that. I didn't see that coming actually, but it just came. All right, so there you go. We're back in a moment. Stay on with us.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
The future belongs to the dreamers, to the doers, to those who are not afraid of the side hustle. It's for those who are ready to turn their passion into something big. And to help keep you revitalized and inspired, Top Tea is with you every step of the way. You are made for more. Find your inspiration. Top Tea, big round bags of flavor.
Senior executives face local macroeconomic turbulence and global geopolitical upheavals. Don't worry, Texam UK got your back. A transformative journey with Texam Strategies for Sustainable Organizational Success Program, April 24 to 25, 2024, in Lagos will position you and your organization for these challenges. Our interactive sessions, games, assessment, and peer-to-peer learning are unique with a great faculty led by John Peters, former chair, Association of MBAs and ex-prisoner of war, delivering actionable insights for you to navigate uncertainties and thrive. Pay 3,155,215 Naira by March 15th for your spot and enrich your leadership skills in resilience, innovation, and sustainable growth. Apply now via +44 7425 883 791 or exec@texam.co.uk. It's a strategic opportunity to win. Texam, insights that inspire, actions that change the world.
Do you know that you can now print all your essential items for events without even having to leave your home? It's the Cast Prints Combo Deal for all events.
Yes!
Weddings, conferences, birthdays, burials, etc. Starting from 495,000 Naira only. You get 50 invites, 50 A2 size posters, 50 16-page brochures, 1 large backdrop banner, 1 roll-up banner, 50 jotters with pens, and 50 souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high-quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913 156 5016 or 0812 794 9323 or visit our social media pages. Cast Prints, digital printing at super speed.
New beginnings are always colorful. When we celebrate the start of life's journey, we marry in colors. With our proudly Nigerian Dulux paints, now available in any color. Express your world however you want it. Visit a Dulux Color Center to get any color instantly.
Dulux, let's color. With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Welcome to Art House. I'm Melinda Kimani. Coming up on today's episode of the program. Life is a stage. A bold canvas.
paint on it. String some rhymes while at it. Then enjoy it on Art House. We see life in beautiful curves, crafts, colors, and most exciting forms. Join us as we savor intriguing sights and sounds at these times. Art House, life is art.
All right, yeah, welcome back. Well, earlier you did see that the governor of Kogi State, who was the one who conducted the primaries in Ondo State, declaring the governor, incidentally, his colleague, as the man who's got the ticket. And then, much as, yes, there were little hitches here and there, but eventually he says that, yeah, so all set and done. But some reactions coming through about that. We've got Mr. Ayo Fadaka, who was an immediate past official in the zone for Southwest for PDP. He joins us this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well,
Chamberlain.
Yeah, so after all said and done, that the primaries are done, so it does appear as though the political temperature in the state seems to be taking shape. You've been keeping close tabs on all of these scenarios. What's your reading of what to expect moving forward?
Well, the first thing that happened in the the APC primaries this last Saturday was a full return of thuggery and hooliganism to our state. This indeed has been a thing of the past. We saw people attacking each other. We saw people who were hearing gunshots. Almost from my reports, almost from every nook and cranny of the state, people were shooting at each other, people were beating each other up, just because a party was having its primary election. I've always known, and I've said this severally, that the APC can only pretend to be democratic. They have nothing to do with democracy. As far as they know, might is right. But it's so unfortunate for our system because the norms of democracy, the respect that should be accorded to the franchise of citizens is daily eroded. No longer do we have people wanting to be governor, wanting to be president on account of what they are going to do for their states, or the impact they want to do, or how to bring development to states and the nation. What we have now is that people just wanting to occupy position at every cost, sometimes at the cost of some people's life. It is sad, but as a member of the People's Democratic Party, I celebrate the APC for dealing itself, for waging an internecine war against itself.
But Mr. Fadaka, one thing that seemed to run through most political parties is the question of them having or getting the internal democracy right. It's always one kind of the pull for, it's as though it's it's do or die for political parties to ensure that one person emerges. Even when they have it all spelled out in their constitution, you still have several persons who feel the party did not adhere to their own party's constitution. So isn't that a challenge that should be of huge concern even to you?
Well, I cannot say much for APC, but I certainly do know that if there's anything at all, internal democracy in PDP is well organized. We do not rape the rights of others. Ours is always properly organized to the extent that it is even done in the full glare of cameras. Nobody has to beat another up for him to emerge. I am saying that the gains of this republic, which we started in 1999, are completely getting eroded by the day. And this is because rather than to vie for position in a civilized manner, desperation has become the order of the day in the APC.
No, but PDP has you have also had challenges within your party. You can't say it's just the APC that had that challenge.
Well, if there have been challenges in my party, those ones may be mere headaches, but there has never been a time that we conducted our primaries across the length and breadth of this country, and the results are badly managed, as we witnessed today in the APC. You see, so when APC says that it is organizing direct primaries, for those of us that are practicing politicians, we just smile or laugh at the foolhardiness of such claim, because we know that it is a time to crown somebody the candidate of their party. And in most cases, when they even conduct such elections, I pick Osun, for instance, the numbers of votes that are cast in their internal elections, they do not get at general elections. It's a mockery. It's a mockery of what democracy should be. The APC has to rediscover itself if they can, and I pray they don't. They should know how to conduct elections in a way that it will be rancor-free. It is difficult to see people in the PDP contesting the result of a primary election, because the votes will be cast in the full glare of the cameras and will be counted in the presence of the agents of the aspirants that are contesting that election. In those states, for instance, agents of, agents of Olushola Jimo Ibrahim, Wale Akitenwa, they've all been complaining that, well, the Ododo Commission, the Ododo panel, committee, or whatever it is, told them that materials should be distributed at 7 a.m. in an hotel in Akure, that they were there, nothing was distributed. That is not it. Transparency is key in all what we do. As is a measurement of your integrity. If you are not transparent, people will suspect you. I must underscore the fact that politicians don't trust each other. But for you to engender that there is trust in the system, the party must always live above board and make sure that the doubts that anybody can have, any of the aspirants can have, are well addressed before the process begins. And where they fail to address such doubts, it is the kind of thing that is happening in APC today that you will see. Of all those that contested the APC primary, only one person is satisfied with the result. The others are complaining so loudly, and they have actually been complaining from the very moment the process commenced. Not that they waited to complain after they saw the result.
Well, when you say they complain about the primaries, and that in your party it's difficult to find some people complaining, I'm trying to still wrap my head about in terms of what that means, because everyone did see how the presidential primaries of your party went and how several people were miffed. So the fact that they didn't go to court to contest it does not mean that they were not happy with the way it turned out.
Chamberlain, since you mentioned the presidential primary of our party, of my party, I will say that another agenda was at play. When the presidential primary election was conducted, the results were read in the ballots was counted in the full glare of the entire world. Of course, yes, some wicked that will raise complaints, that raise a group to complain. Where is it today? He remains a mole in our party. That's the best word I can use for him.
Yeah, but the issue there is that it didn't go. Everybody was not happy with the process. That's the point you're making. Because you give the impression that everybody is usually happy with the way processes turn out.
Because they have an agenda to prosecute.
Everybody has an agenda or the other, don't they? All politicians usually have an agenda.
Chamberlain, we all have agenda, but some agendas are sinister. It is sinister for anybody who claims to be a member of a party to be an agent provocateur inside that same party, working for the interest of another. Such are not gentlemen.
Let's backtrack a little bit.
Only have a rap system.
If we backtrack a little bit, former President Goodluck Jonathan's time, governors were miffed with your party, they left the party, and that was why the party lost elections. How about that? Were they agent provocateurs too?
We knew, yes, of course, we had an internal crisis. Those that left. Of course, there was a depiction in our ranks and the influence in places across the nation. Those who left. We knew they were gentlemen enough and were man enough to leave the party. Not one who stayed within our ranks and fight and was causing a havoc to the party. That is not a gentleman. That's not a gentleman. If the party itself is serious, the party should have expected that kind of character. I was so...
Mr. Fadaka, sorry, I just want to be able to get what you're trying to say here. Because, you know, we're seeing a lot of the headlines from the People's Democratic Party mocking, you know, the APC primaries that held in Ondo State over the weekend. But one thing I've not heard you say is how this improves your chances as a party of getting into the government house in Ondo State. You've pointed out, oh, it's a sham, oh, it's a mockery of democracy. And as Chamberlain has been doing for the past few minutes, pointing out the fact that you also have issues within your party, issues that may or may not have led to the situation that we have right now. But with the criticism of everything that has happened with the APC in Ondo State, with these primaries, how does that improve your chances as a party about, you know, getting yourselves into government house when the elections hold?
Thank you very much for that beautiful question. We have a number, and let me even say a legion of undisciplined politicians who are absolutely nomadic. They move from one party to the other. Of course, we have suffered, and we have suffered the affliction of having many of them in our rank and file. The moment they saw that we are not going to be in government at the federal level, that we are not even in government at the state level, of course they moved. Those are the kind of politicians a party should not be blessed with. Those are who I will call those who come into politics not because they have an idea of being of essence and service to their communities and nation. They are the ones who go from one party to the other looking for a bare means of existence. They are the ones that left our party now and are currently in the APC in Ondo State. Of course, now, and you know, politics is such a very funny game. You may think a party is at the ascendancy this minute, and variables may develop and occur within a short time and cut short the extensive glory of that party and confer it on another. Of course, as a politician, I hope very seriously, and I know so well that we reap from the crisis of the APC in Ondo State. I won't say about that.
I just want to chip in and find out, some of those who are protesting now for these primaries, are you suggesting that if they were to come to your party will not take them in?
If anybody comes to our party, of course, our doors are wide open. We take them in. We take them in, of course. But you know what the electoral law did say? The current electoral law that we are using in this country does not permit anyone that has contested the primary election for a particular position in a party to come to another to contest for the same position again. So if they are coming in, of course, if you look at a good number of those that contested in APC today, they are former members of our party. A good number of them are. Is it Jim Ibrahim you want to talk about? Or is it Shola Oke, who was even a member of the National Working Committee of our party? These are indeed our kids and kindred in APC. I advise them at the onset of this that, guys, you did not belong to this party. Think and come back home where democracy thrives, that you guys will be shortchanged in this party and have been proved right. I don't know if I'm in the newest Nicodemus in the police of Ondo State, but I know that they know that I told them. And what I predict will happen to them has happened to them now. Of course, we'll be glad to welcome our kids and kindred in APC back home if they so decide to come. And if they decide that they want to continue to be veranda boys in APC, let it be.
But I've not heard you talk about how this is going to benefit you anyway, because if those people come into your party, they will want their own agenda to be fulfilled. So isn't that going to be a little more chaotic in terms of you handling all of those who will be coming in?
Chamberlain, I will tell you very frankly, I am not going to tell you the benefits of their coming to our party. Such a thing is not going to be said on air. we know how to manage it.
Well, there was something you said earlier, Mr. Fadaka. You were talking about moles in your party, and I just wanted to get what you mean by that. Because you see, the person that you actually mentioned could have moved to another political party, but still remains in your party. Just so we can understand your thinking on this particular matter, what do you think is really going on with these characters that you're calling moles in the PDP?
Apart from calling them moles, I equally describe them as agents provocateurs. Those who decide to remain in an organization to fester the interests of another rival organization. Honestly, that's what they are. They are even worse than moles. A mole may merely pick information from here and trade it elsewhere. The ones that are operating within PDP today, that are even publicly taking largesse from APC on account of their perfidy, are the ones I would think that they should be men enough to leave PDP. And I also believe that a time must come in this party that this party will decide to stand up boldly and say, for every agent procurator in this party, we need you no more.
All right.
That time is going to come.
Okay. Well, we'll look to see if all what you've said will, how the scenarios in your own party in the States will play out. I guess, much as we wish everybody the best, but time is a great determinant.
Time will shine, certainly. So,
thank you very much indeed. So stay on with us. We will be right back.
Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com. Click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere. Breaking news.
Again with the latest Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Developing stories. And the conversations that matter.
We see an increase because of the economic pressure on them. The people are paying more for crossing borders irregularly.
Get a glimpse of the world around you on The World Today. Weekdays at this time.
How does double digits affect your purchasing power? What about ballooning debt profile and scarce FX? How's that affecting your business?
The federal government is turning to the money market to fund this deficit. Are yields contracting or expanding? Is this a good buy for you?
Inflation drives MPC decisions and affects sentiment at the equities market. What is happening to your investment?
Or would you rather go digital? We track all the volatility in the crypto market.
Get the answers from the business team every weekday at 1 p.m. on Business Incorporated, only on Channels Television.
Welcome back. Let's try and understand some of the developments, unfortunately, playing out in Plateau State. We'll try to get across to the Commissioner of Police, but they've got several meetings today, as they tell us. So we've got Honorable Dachon Bagos here with us. He was a member of the House of Representatives, representing Jos South East Federal Constituency from 2019 up until 2023. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, well, good morning. Up to not just 2023, up to when the Court of Appeal did the injustice to the legislators on the Plateau.
There's got to be a year to that, isn't it? So
yeah, well.
That's why we left it with the year. So you can have that perspective, but the year is bottom line.
Yeah, well.
So this scenario, much as it's very hard for lots of people to grapple with and try and understand why the authorities cannot rein some of these people in, could you just, talking about this time and again, almost sounded like a broken record. Why is it so difficult for this to be addressed, these killings?
You know, it has, all the time, we will always say that it is unfortunate. But it's as a result of negligence, Chamberlain. You and I have discussed much about this insecurity in Plateau State and the country at large. That there are measures that are supposed to be taken, but up till now, nothing is yet been done. You know, measures that will always calm nerves so that people will feel that either government is working or something. But it is not just about calming down nerves. It's about how have you been able to implement these possible solutions. For instance, Bokos that has been on the front burner in the past months and past years, there are nucleus of these terrorists around Bokos. And the most unfortunate part of it is that the school, the Plateau State Polytechnic University that was attacked, you can see where students are staying, the off-campus satellite towns. You will see the terrorist nucleus around these students. But the word you will now hear is that, oh no, those are just headsmen. But using the name headsmen, at the end of the day, when something happens, these people come out from those nucleus camps that the so-called headsmen are staying. What happened that, how can a settlement that you call that is for headsmen, people will come out from those settlements in bikes, and each bike, you have 2, 3 on each bike, driving through the school compound, shooting sporadically and saying that nothing has happened. So it's so imagine that if these people now come out with, have an agenda to come out that, look, they are going to wipe that school, Chamberlain, I can assure you that the casualties that we could have been talking of at this moment will be unimaginable.
Talk to us about possible motive, because now there's this narrative that people, which is beginning to gain traction, that mineral resources are also a factor in this. Is that right?
You see, I've said this, that look, all the areas that have been attacked on the plateau are areas that have mineral resources, are areas that are agrarian, that you can farm, that the farm produce. You have large span of farmlands in those areas. Bokos is one of Bokos is one of the major producers and farmers of potatoes, that the Irish potatoes that everybody bring Irish potatoes from Plateau State. It is Bokos that is one of the heartbeat of potatoes on the plateau. Now these people can no longer go to farm. Where will you get the potatoes that virtually feed the entire nation? Unfortunately, today, some of these eateries and farms are importing potatoes now from South Africa. What happens to Bokos, to Barikiladi, to Riom, and some of these places that they are the major producers of this of potatoes, tomatoes, and so most of these places today, people have been dispersed as a result of insecurity. Not just being dispersed, they are even afraid of going to the farm. The governor have made so much emphatic effort encouraging people, has bought as much fertilizers and putting in, trying to see how we can have rangers across the farms to be able to protect farmers during this farming season. But beyond that, he has shown political will. What is the tactical will to be able to address these issues? How can we be able, as a people and as a country, that look, these are issues that the possible solutions, and again, ignoring justice, the justice system. Today, you have only maybe 5 military men at a checkpoint going into Bokos. But you now have, still within the Bokos axis, people coming out in bikes. How can those 5 military men be able to engage those people in bikes with heavy And we now still go further to ask that if truly security are looking into these issues, what has technology been able to do? Before coming here, there was traffic. I quickly looked at my Google map. It shows me that there was traffic, and I further look at the entire. It showed me the building of channels, and I found out that okay, cars are not moving around here. This is the axis. So, if just as an ordinary citizen with my phone, I can geolocate a location and see the movement of vehicles from my phone. What happens to technology to be able to say that, look, these are nucleus of this bandit here. What is the kind of movement? So we mean that as a country with the heavy money that the National Assembly is being, has channeled to issue of insecurity, we cannot at this particular moment get the latest gadgets to be able to look at these issues and to look at it. So this is like...
Perhaps one of the challenges, Mr. Bagos, just a second, perhaps the challenge is not that of technology or anything. Perhaps it's that of the human. I recall last year, sometime around June or thereabout last year, we had a conversation with the governor of the state, and he was highlighting the fact that there are non-state actors that are very active in the state, occupying certain local governments. It was in that interview that he also revealed that maybe sometime around that time, that he also revealed that about 80% of all that is happening, all the unrest and all that is happening in Plateau State has one thing or the other to do with what he also talked about, mineral deposits in the state as well. Is it that it is intractable? There are also allegations of people, land grabbing and the rest of it. Is it that these issues are intractable? Because it's about the people. It is something that happens between or among the people. Is it that the elders of the communities, the community development associations, the legislators in the state cannot call all the people who are supposed to, ensure that there is peace to order and ensure that there is peace and enforce that peace using the security agencies in the state? Is it intractable?
Well, it's kind of very... I can tell you that there is no situation that the Plateau people cannot handle themselves. And, from the point of view that Plateau people are not living in peace or they don't want visitors, that is far-fetched from it, because there is nothing like clash. Because if it is a clash, that is where the community leaders will come and sit. That is where the development association will come and sit. But this is a situation where people come in from different angles that you don't know where they are coming from. People come in with heavy armory that you don't know where they got them from. People come in that you cannot even identify them, come, attack, and withdraw. So that is not, those are not Plateau people in very entirety.
No,
because
even
if
that,
a community
my
that
apologies.
is within the school,
yeah,
in the name of a settlement of headsmen, if we knew that these people are terrorists, that these people are not, if we are not accommodated, Plateau people could have said, look, we don't
Honorable,
know you, we know you as terrorists.
Even that issue that you just raised now,
and could identify those people are the security agencies.
Even that issue that you just raised, just a second, Honorable. Honorable, just 1 second. Even that which you just raised now raises an issue, because you would recall while we were all growing up, you don't get into a community and you are a total stranger and no one will accost you. I don't see how that is possible. I mean, this is something that is known among all African communities that I am aware of. At what point did we lose that value? Just as you said, strange people come into a community and no one is able to identify them, and then no one raises the issue. You talked about artillery. It raises the question of intelligence. I know the information available to us is that governors get intelligence reports from time to time. Is it that these things just happen willy-nilly? No intelligence official was able to capture it before it happened. And even when it happened, indeed, the DSS was unavailable, the police was unavailable, military formations around were unavailable and unaware that such an intelligence breach was going to happen. How can anyone explain that, Honorable?
Not that just we have lost our value of intelligence. But let me tell you why we have reached where we are. The political will to really identify these issues headlong many years, 20 years ago, is what has led us where we are today. Because when we started identifying these people that, look, we don't know these people in our community, what you will now hear that, oh, we are religious. What you now hear that, oh, we are ethnic. What will now, because if you now identify someone, so, oh, no, this person, it's from our religion, please, don't even go there. So before you know it, someone will be arrested in Jos, and tomorrow you will hear that he has been moved to Abuja, and after 3 days, you will hear that again the same person or group of people have been released on the ground of religion and ethnicity. That has been one of the major cardinal points that has taken us to where we are today. We have identified people not once, not twice, but at the end of the day, when they are being arrested, I can tell you, Ayo, by the next 2, 3, or 24 hours, there will be a phone call from a certain quarters, and these same people will be released. So how can we be able to say that justice has been dispensed? This has been the trend for the past 20 years, that today the persons that people that feel that they are powerful can no longer even protect themselves. Because we have been able, because monsters have been bred, that today they are looking for blood everywhere. The university that has been attacked, these are future leaders that we are trying to groom in the state. Today, they are now afraid to go to school. Not just farmers going to the farm, but today the future leaders we are trying to groom are now afraid to go to school, which means that the future is highly endangered. Nigeria, with a population over 70%, under 30. Where is now the future? Any arrest or any kidnap that you now see today is either this school is being attacked, these students are being attacked, and so on and so forth. How are we now saying that tomorrow we are sure of how what will now be who we want to have? And it should be something that our leaders and elders should be so worrisome, that who is going to take over from them. It's not just about the children of the elite that go abroad and come back. When the children of the elite go abroad, come back, which society are they going to meet? So it's very important that we should be able to.
What do you recommend?
There should be a very holistic arrangement in terms of the issue of insecurity. Today we are talking about is it AU summit on
counterterrorism summit? Will state police solve this matter?
State police will be part of the solution, because I can tell you, in a community of Bokos, if the local government is now in charge of insecurity, state police will help, local government autonomy will help, because now when the local government, when chiefs are involved, when community leaders are involved in terms of insecurity, they will be able to identify who is who. Because when people say that state police will not, what has helped addressing the issue of insecurity in Borno State is the civilian JTF, because the youths in civilian JTF know who and who is part of our community. So when state police come, and when community people and the indigenes are now involved in policing themselves, they will say, no, we don't know this person. When he's arrested, and you know that the amendment will now still give the state police the jurisdiction for prosecution. So, which means the justice system will come into place. But for me, for all of us, for all the time to sit down and just go to the table, on the tea table, discuss, nothing happens. In the 8th Assembly, there was a security summit, nothing happened. 9th Assembly, security summit, nothing happened. 10th Assembly, we're talking of security summit. I don't know where that summit will lead us.
You were part of those assemblies, so
we made our recommendation, and we thought that something will come out of it, but up till now, the executive have not done anything. So we're still waiting for what will be done. But
Honorable Dacian Bagos,
it's worrisome.
Member, House of Reps, representing Jos South and East Federal Constituency for 2019 to 2023. Thank you for coming on. And
well, at least it's good that you said member, not former, because our people don't take us as former yet.
Well, I put a timeline, 2019 to 2023. This is 2024. Thank you for coming on, and we hope that this is addressed as soon as possible. Yeah. Well, BMSD is coming up next, and John Mekwa is here to take us through that.
Thank you so much, Chamberlain. Well, good morning. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. We do business here in just about 30 minutes. Oil prices fell on Monday, dragged down by a renewed focus on market fundamentals as Israel and Iran played down the risks of an escalation of hostilities in the Middle East after Israel's apparently small strike on Iran. Let's look at the numbers right there. Stability comes with a drop in prices, a benefit to some others and detriment of others. So Brent dropped 0.77%. That's a huge drop, getting close to 1% at $86.62 a barrel. WTI down almost about the same percentage, 0.76% at $82.51 a barrel. And of course, the calm between Iran and Israel is one that has contributed to that calm that we see there. And then also on Saturday, the United States House of Representatives passed that aid package for Ukraine and Israel containing measures that would let federal government expand sanctions against Iran and its production, even though the U.S. had said they would not interfere, but I guess this secondary interference right there. But markets shrunk off the news of the impact of measures, if passed, would depend on how they're interpreted and implemented. Senate consideration of the bill is set to begin tomorrow, Tuesday. Separately, Iran-backed Lebanese group Hezbollah on Sunday said it's downed an Israeli drone that was on a combat mission in southern Lebanon, and Israeli forces and Lebanon's armed group Hezbollah have been exchanging fire for over 6 months now in parallel to the Gaza war, fueling concerns about further escalation. And that's, those are some of the major things. But I guess that has been going on for a while, so that's not really contributing to what's going on today. Well, still talking about oil, let's come to Nigeria now and see that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's the NNPCL, and its joint venture partner in OML 85, that's First Exploration and Petroleum Development Company Limited. They've commenced oil production in a field, Madu Field, and production from that field, which is located in shallow waters offshore Bayelsa State and operated by First E&P, is expected to be at an average of 20,000 barrels a day. Shouldn't this give a bit of warm, than since we've seen a drop in our crude production? And this, according to a statement that was shared by NNPCL, is an effort to optimize production from the nation's oil and gas assets through the provision of an enabling environment for existing and prospective investors. In a statement signed by the Chief Corporate Communications Officer, NNPCL, Mr. Lufe Mishoneye, the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL, Mr. Melekeri, describes the commencement of oil production at the Madu Field as a significant milestone that will contribute to the larger goal of meeting the production required to drive revenue growth and boost the nation's economy. Mr. Kyari commends stakeholders for their support and explains that the addition of 20,000 barrels a day by an indigenous oil player signals the commitment of stakeholders to achieving economic development for Nigeria. We could remember that the final investment decision on the development of the Madu Field and the sister field Anyala was taken by NNPCL in 2018, and production from Madu Field will be processed at the JV's Abigail Joseph Floating Production Storage and Offloading Unit, which has a crude oil storage capacity of up to 800,000. And related to that, we know we're still counting down. We're celebrating the Dangote diesel, we're counting down to the petrol. I saw a lot of that on social media. Nigerians are really waiting, to see how that happens. But a not so pleasant one is the rate of the Naira closed on Friday, not looking so good. Most of last week, we saw a depreciation on the Naira. For Friday, it closed at 1,609 609 naira 99 kobo on NAFEM after it lost 1.38%, while for NAFEX it closed at 1,173 naira 72 kobo, opened at 1,134 and lost more than 3%. Not a good one, but I guess we had a lot of appreciation on the naira, so that should still give us a bit of comfort, you know, and that's what some traders have been reacting to. A correspondent went to the trade fair to get the feeling of some traders from the informal sector about what's going on at the moment. Of course, everybody's happy that the naira has gained compared to where we were a couple of months ago. So let's take some of those views.
I am very happy with what our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has done so far. We are happy. From 1,800 down to what it is today. And I know very soon it will hit 900, 800. And my wish is that it will come down the more so that people will not lose hope of living. One thing about business is this: many has paid for their goods. It will not be automatic. But the issue there is that it will, you know, it's coming down. There will soon be normalcy in every sector. Thank God for what the economic team has been doing so far.
Well, there are also reactions to the reforms, and of course, I think top on the list is what we see from Dangote, which is a reduction in the price of diesel to 1,000 naira coming from Dangote refineries. And some of those reforms and palliatives, the informal sector seems to be happy with the current action of the present administration led by President Bola Tinubu.
If they can give us 70 to 100 billion, people will know that our president is trying. But the problem of this country is when the president gives directive, those in charge to act according to the president's directive, they will not do it. And you know, president cannot be at the front and center and be at the back. He has given the directive for Nigerians to help Nigerians because we call it a palliative. But the question now, the people in charge, can they do what the president said? I want to thank the management of Dangote. You can see what's happening in the oil sector. Yes. He has come up and said that maybe from today, that the gas, diesel will go to 1,000 naira a liter. It's a very good thing. If other people can emulate him, Nigeria will go far.
Well, both of them are executive of ASPAMDA. We know those are major contributors in the informal sector and retail, contributing to the economy of the country. Let's have a wholesome conversation on the economy. Of course, major focus will be on the naira, seeing a depreciation in the naira for a couple of days now. Should we be worried or not? We have joining us for this conversation Dr. Biodun Adedipe. He is the founder and chief consultant of B. Adedipe Consultant. Thank you so much, Dr. Adedipe. Good morning.
Good morning, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Good to have you. So just when we were about to relax and see prices, I mean, we've seen things like a bag of rice reducing in prices. Some people who deal in hair extensions have said prices have started reducing also. Now we are seeing the naira depreciating now, like almost all through last week. Should we be worried?
Thank you very much for that question. My response would be that we should not be worried. And why would I say that? Because it is simply a reflection of the vagaries of the market. Now, the price of any commodity doesn't naturally go in only one direction. So what we call it in finance language is oscillation. Oscillation means it goes up and then it comes down. And that is the natural way prices behave as demand and supply interact. And so that was the argument. But first and foremost, when we had a lot of sharp practices in the system, the central bank came up with reforms that cleaned out this table. And so we began now to see Naira take its rightful position as the genuine demand and supply for the dollar begin to interact. and therefore drive the exchange value of the Naira in the direction we all saw as positive, and that is Naira gaining value. Now, the question at the time was, if we get to the point where what was seen as the aberration driven by sharp practices have now been corrected, now the rate will likely reflect more of the demand and supply nexus, that's the relationship. And so you begin now to see where the Naira will eventually set. And the argument I made at the time, we were celebrating, which is good anyway, is that it is important to also have at the back of our mind that once the demand begins to increase, and why would that be so? Now we have seen the Naira appreciate in value. Some that needed dollars genuinely, either for trade or to pay for other expenses and purchases, held back, waiting for the Naira to gain more value, with the hope that if it dips below 1,000 Naira to the dollar, that will be a time for them to buy and execute their transactions. My suspicion is that a number of such, let me say, buyers of the dollar, remember the demand for dollar itself is derivative, is derived, which means you don't buy dollar for the sake of buying dollar. It's because there's a purpose behind it, either to pay for purchases or pay for expenses. For some, they also still see it as, what I would call not necessarily speculative now, but to invest in some dollar assets. But clearly, Naira assets as of today are more attractive in terms of return on investment assets. So all of those combined, and so what you see now is people coming out to buy dollars that they see as cheaper than the experience of the last couple of months to now execute their transactions. It is not also unexpected that by the time we get to summer, which is typical historically in the FX market in Nigeria, the demand will also tick up. So we may see the Naira lose a little value. But for me, in rounding up this, it is nothing to worry about. It is the natural movement in the market that we experience naturally.
So do you see us going back to the appreciating trend where the Naira is appreciating, or do we take it that about 1,100 is a fair value at this time of the Naira?
Well, for me, what I would call fair value of the Naira depends on a number of factors. But in terms of expectation and outlook, and that is playing the factor that determine the exchange value of a currency, I really still expect that the Naira will strengthen down to about 950 Naira to $1. And of course, we started the year from that expectation of 850 before we moved to 900. And then we saw speculative attack on the currency. And we should not forget that. And that means if Naira is going to sustain the rally it enjoyed, that made it to be rated as the best performing currency against the US dollar globally, then it means our monetary authorities must be alert to any signs of speculation. And in particular, the kind of speculation that is in an attack on the currency. So they must be sensitive and alert to that. If they can cop that, then we see the Naira still regain value and probably drop a little bit below 1,000 Naira to the dollar.
But I mean, a lot of people have said, we've seen a lot of moves, from the monetary aspect. We've seen intervention from the CBN, which many have said that is not really sustainable. The most sustainable move would be supply, exports, and all of that. Would you say that the fiscal aspect of the government is doing enough intentionally to defend the Naira?
Well, I will put it this way, that there's no way the fiscal authorities can do anything directly when it comes to the exchange value of the Naira, except through the window of liquidity. So the question is this: if a lot more money is coming to the Federation account, and by the constitutional provision, the money is shared among the three tiers of government, federal, state, and local government. Now, the question then will be, what are they doing with the money? So if the increase is directed more at infrastructure, what that we do, we call infrastructure enabler. If that enabler is strengthened we bridge some part of our infrastructure gap by the gains on the revenue side, which is fiscal operations. Now, if they do that, what will happen is that you create an environment for two important sectors to thrive. One is your manufacturing, in which case manufacturing either to replace what is being imported or to produce for export. We bring what we call a strong authorities reforms. Secondly, is what they do directly for those that export. Now, an improvement in the infrastructure and a number of reforms have also been done, especially in terms of the commercial leg of policy. There are three important legs, but oftentimes we talk about monetary and fiscal and forget about commercial. This government has done a very important thing with respect to commercial policy, and that is where I can sit in my house as someone who either wants to import or export, and right on the portal, I can finish whatever I need to do officially without having to interact with any particular agent of the government. That has a long way using that technology to solve the problem that can create windows or checkpoints, if you like, in the value chain export transactions. With that done, what I expect naturally is that we will see Nigeria's export grow significantly in the next 12 to 18 months, especially taking advantage of the window of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that Nigeria has signed. Now, for manufacturers, as I said earlier, it is creating an opportunity for them to also produce if the cost of doing business comes down because of improvement in infrastructure. So it is all this that we now indeed give very vital support to what the monetary authorities are doing. And that is where we say that policies, are aligned across the three plans that I mentioned.
And I think the Minister of Aviation also did mention this, among others, creating demand for Naira. How can we effectively do that?
Well, for the Ministry of Aviation, it's an interesting thing what is playing out recently. Because you see there the response, for example, of many foreign airlines to the entry of airplanes into the Lagos-London route. Okay, many of them dropped their rates, number one, at their prices. But not only that, we had also over the weekend that one of the old brands in the market suddenly introduced a Nigerian menu that they serve on this route. So in which case, they are all responding to what AirPeace has done. Now, bringing it in terms of policy, and this is what I advocate for very strongly. When it comes to international competitiveness, any serious government anywhere in the world, and that's the pattern, always support any entity that originates from their country and is going to compete internationally. And I can make reference here without any sense of contradiction that when we did licensing, MTN coming to bid for a license in Nigeria had the very strong support of the South African government. Econet had very strong support of the Zimbabwean government. They came strongly with a very strong delegation. So the question for me then is that if we are going to compete internationally, then it means major entities that have the capacity to compete internationally should also have the support of the government. We saw a play out over the weekend, for example, of what the U.S. government said they are going to do to prevent China from getting stronger competitively against a particular American brand. So this is something that happens on the international scene. So for me, therefore, what the Minister of Aviation has said with respect to what do we do to ensure that domestic airlines have access to, let me call it the aviation assets, that we give them an advantage in competing internationally. That is what the competitors are doing, by the way. So if you don't do that, we be at the receiving end at the end of the day. So of course, what that means also is, if I now need to pay for a travel ticket, especially on the Lagos-London route, I find I have to pay a lot less, maybe 1/3 of what I used to pay before, until the entrance of AirPeace into that arena. Which means a lot of value was being taken away from us. Remember, it's in foreign currency by those foreign airlines. That doesn't represent the value we receive in exchange. So what this entrant of airpeace has done is to bring everyone down to the exchange of value for value, as we call it. One is monetary value, the other one is intrinsic value of the service or the product that you sell. So clearly, that is also bringing some kind of, let me call it dampening of the pressure in the FX market. And it's a good one for Nigeria.
Yeah, well, we do hope that that's sustained. And as you noted, the government needs to help and back both airpeace and Dangote, and of course, other individuals and entrepreneurs that are coming in through the private sector to help boost not just the Nigerian image now, but Nigerian product. Thank you so much, Dr. Biodun Adespe, for your time and views this morning.
It's my pleasure being with you. Thank you so very much for having me.
You too. So now let's head to the markets. The NGX is still in the red, closed in the red again last week. I think almost every day, or perhaps one positive trade at the close, at the end of the week. But I mean, by the time we look at the summary, we see that we're still in the red, lost 2.71% of the all-share index at 99,539.75. Equities cap, well, should we celebrate 56 trillion now? Since this is like a point for us, a resilient point for the markets, being at 56 trillion for a bit of some time now. And when we look at the activity, well, compared to the previous week, it was green. Volume was up. There you have it. Volume was up more than 41%. Value also, as well as deals. Deals was at 44,915. That was also more than what we had in the previous week. We look at the sectors. We saw a lot of profit-taking, heavy profit-taking. I think investors here now are moving to the fixed income market. I mean, I think rates in the fixed income market last week went up to about 26%. So who wants to miss out on that? So banking dropped 0.99%. Consumer goods was positive. Industrial goods, obviously in the red, more than 3% for the week. Insurance, positive. Oil and gas finally found its voice and made some positive movement last week and was up 5.20. Now let's talk to Peter Abe now. Peter Abe is a trader with IBTC Stockbrokers to tell us what's going on behind the scene. Hi, Peter. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, Peter. So it seems like the market numbers these days tell us that investors, I mean, everybody is only loyal to their profits and nobody's loyal to any market, because it seems the stream is going from the NGX to the fixed income space as the yields increase.
Yeah, you are quite right. Good thing is that we are seeing some investors coming into the equity market, so they are not taking everything out to the fixed income alone. So I mean, except for some few names, especially in the banks where we saw some profit taking or some sell-off on the back of the capitalization news. But outside that, some consumer names, even after the end of closing last week, we still saw few interest in the banks.
So I noticed that the oil and gas had movement, but for a while we see it unchanged. So I was calculating that with Dangote, now supplying to local retailers and all of that, that would have an effect on the oil and gas stocks.
Well, if you're going to look at the oil and gas names listed on the Nigerian exchange, we have the downstream, those are the marketing, and then we have the upstream, those are the one producing the crude oil. So if they are going to, impact on oil and gas is going to come from those doing the marketing. So in the likes of ethanol oil, MRS, corn oil. So those are the ones we are going to be seeing gains from. And I think we started seeing that. I think ethanol gained last week and a couple of other oil and gas as well.
So for this week now, okay, well, first let me ask about insurance. We saw positive movement there at the close of trade last week. But, I mean, a lot of times it seems overlooked. And then what can we do to bring attention to this insurance? I guess the insurance companies themselves would have to do something about winning the trust of Nigerians to patronize them. And that could move value to the stocks?
You are quite right. I think the way Nigeria is, well, we believe in some other insurance outside the conventional one, which I think the insurance companies also have to come in here to let them know that it's a win-win situation for everybody. Nobody prays for loss, but it's the reality of life, and we have to get insurance. So insurance companies have to do it, as well as every religious bodies, governments, everybody have to ensure that we come in to help people see the benefits of insurance. The cover is not, nobody prays for it, but that's the reality of life.
Yeah, we pray, but life happens. And I guess the insurance company themselves, they have to, go out there to win the trust. But what are the expectations this week? Last week, we had a lot of penny stocks, topping gainers and all of that. What do you see happening this week?
Well, the visual will still continue, and don't forget we'll start seeing the Q1 numbers for 2024. Unilever released their own, and we expect more. I think the deadline is still next week, the end of April. They have 1 month after the quarter end. So I think those numbers will also help to push activities in the market. So we expect improved activities in the market overall.
But do we still see investors reacting to numbers, results? We saw TransCore, they did release their first quarter. I mean, did we see investors react to that?
Well, I quite agree with you. Don't forget we have more issues outside the numbers. You mentioned the fixed income giving a higher yield. So, I mean, it's a concern. I mean, whoever is looking at the numbers, we also look at much more in terms of their pockets, how they're going to gain looking at other markets. So, investors are still looking at numbers, but like I said, so many other factors have to be considered while you are looking at these numbers, and they will help you to shape your decision.
So recapitalization is still, I mean, the story has not even started. But I know the CBN gave banks till the end of April. April is ending in a couple of days. Do you see them revealing their plans, for the recapitalization? Do you that affecting the market, perhaps investors taking position ahead of the approach?
Well, I think it's just a normal thing, being a corporate to review what they are looking at. We have seen a couple of them already telling the markets the direction they are going. So I think some other banks released how much they are going to release, and by the means they are also going to raise all those funds. So I think it's just a normal thing as a corporate for the market to know how they're going to raise their funds. Well, like a typical investor, the banks at the moment are really at their low level, if you ask me, compared to how we started or how they have traded. So it will be a good point for everyone to come in at this point.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. Peter Abe is a trader with Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers. Thank you so much for your views this morning.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it. Perhaps you want to keep your ears really close to the ground to see those plans from the banks and know if there's anyone that you want to be interested in. Or perhaps you just want to follow the yields and head to the fixed income market. The good thing is, Peter had said, the liquidity is still within our economy. So that's the most important thing. But that's it for Business Morning. 1 p.m., Ladi Williams will be here to give you a 55-minute journey around the world of business. For now, let's head back to the Sunrise Daily Studios. Back to you guys.
Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Continuing our conversation, we're joined now by Mr. Olisa Abakoba, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. He joins us virtually. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program this morning, sir. And it's getting us to stay on this development between the EFCC and the former governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yaya Bello. There's been a lot of back and forth as to what is the appropriate legal position. Different interpretations are out there. So could you tell us, what is your understanding of what the legal processes are concerning his arrest? Because there are some who think, yes, it should be. Others think, well, there are certain procedures that need to be adhered to and that the EFCC may need to reconsider. So what do you think of this whole matter?
Thanks for having me. I really would stay very narrow on the legal and judicial questions. I wouldn't go into the drama of EFCC, the governor of Kogi State. But let me give it some context to show where I think the problem is coming from. Now, when the EFCC was established, it was established under the tenure of General Obasanjo when he was president, and the bill is perhaps the fastest to pass the National Assembly. It passed in 2 days because there was pressure from the Financial Action Task Force for Nigeria to comply with international financial regulation standards. So that passed with a lot of errors and mistakes, which is plaguing us today. That's one. Two is the fact that, and I told the then chair of EFCC, Mr. Bauer, that the EFCC, by definition, is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. It's got nothing to do with corruption. Corruption is actually the job of the ICPC. So that has caused a lot of confusion if you go back 20 years in the war against corruption. But the real problem here, I think, is the rule of law, respect for court decisions. And as I understand it, I don't have first information, but as I understand it, the governor or ex-governor had gone to court and obtained an order to restrain EFCC from arresting him. In turn, the EFCC also approached the court and got an order to arrest the ex-governor. So, conflict. And I think this is the point that the CJN has continuously emphasized, that courts must refrain from giving orders that are in conflict. And again, as I understand it, the judge that gave the order to EFCC to proceed had before him the preliminary application filed by the ex-governor showing that an order from another court had been received, the concurrent court. So I would have thought, in my respectful view, that what the judge who gave the order in favor of EFCC should have done is to say, look, I cannot give this order because my brother judge has given an order. And as I understand it, the EFCC also appealed the order from the ex-governor. So this conundrum is the cause of the problem. And the CJN has emphasized this time and time again. Will judges please stop giving conflicting orders? So that's the source of the problem, if you ask me. Okay, well, we came across some write-up by Mr. Jibrin Okutekpa SEN. He says, while it is true that such applications was filed, and he filed it, which I'm reading from his text, it must be stated clearly that as of 17th April 2024, the applications he filed was overtaken by the decision of the same High Court of Kogi State, which made the order. And then he then went on to say that as from 17th April 2024, there were no more orders or orders of any court of competent jurisdiction stopping EFCC from inviting, arresting, or prosecuting Yahya Bello. He then went on to say in that text, some of it I'm skipping, he says, let it be known that the appeal before the Court of Appeal has become academic and odious because the lifespan of the orders made by Jamil J on the 9th of February 2024 was pending the hearing and determinations of the originating motion on notice. The originating motion, as I said, according to him, was duly heard and determined on the 17th of April 2024, and Jamil J ordered accordingly. My response is my brother, Leonard Silk Okoteba, isn't a judge. It may be true that an order that has a lifespan has expired, but it is not for us to determine that expiration. It's for the judge. So to the extent that the application was granted by the judge, rightly or wrongly, not to arrest the ex-governor, rightly or wrongly, stands. The only way to deal with that order is to go back to the judge and to say to the judge, These are the reasons why I think the order ought not to have been granted. So I disagree with my brother Kuteba that the order had expired. No, he must go back to the judge and bring that to his notice. So I strongly believe that the second order that the EFCC obtained was wrongly applied for and wrongly granted because it conflicts. Actually, in the body of ventures, of which I'm a member, we have a panel headed by the former CJN, Mr. Justice Onogen, dealing with this huge problem. And we've seen it in the election petition cases, conflicting decisions. In fact, in one terrible case, the same appellate court gave a decision in favor of both the appellant and the respondent. So this ridicule has the effect of making us look, dramatic. What should Mr. Bello obey or what he shouldn't obey? But I'm not interested in going into all that. All I'm saying is that can we put our hearts in order, we in the legal and judicial community, by respecting the rules of law? If a judge grants an order, rightly or wrongly, you challenge it, or you apply to set it aside. You cannot decide for yourself that you will not obey it, which is what Mr. Kutba is saying. It's clearly wrong.
I think part of what he also suggested was that the judge ruled that if the commission gets an order from a superior court, then they have reasons to invite him. And so granting this order meant that they had fulfilled their own part of the law, that there was no judgment whatsoever that stops them from proceeding, and that they had followed through with every legal requirement. And he doesn't see any reason why the former governor, who himself applied at that time, challenging all of these orders, to then say that first he wasn't aware, he wasn't served, and he wouldn't obey this one, or he will hide from them arresting him, and things like that.
Yeah, I think I really answered that. I've just said that in the hierarchy of courts, if you approach the court and a judge makes an order, rightly or wrongly, you come back to that judge to show cause why that order should be discharged, which is what EFCC should have done, or appeal. But you cannot leave one court and go to the next court and make two judges clash. So I think that it will be proper to say here that the second order obtained by the EFCC was obtained in complete due process of the first order. That's my position.
So is it, since this order subsists now, is it then, would it be appropriate for the former governor, if they argue that, well, we can't obey this court, we can't show ourselves up in court or give ourselves up for arrest because there's supposed to be an order stopping the commission from arresting us?
Sorry, I didn't. Can you repeat the question? I really didn't hear you.
In light of this current order that the EFCC say they've got, can the former governor or his agent say the former governor cannot be arrested or show up to be arrested because of the previous order that they have, which they say stops the commission from inviting or arresting them, citing that particular one against this one that EFCC say they have?
Wow, I'm having a challenge.
Can you hear me now?
You because
is it clear now?
I can hear you, but it's all. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so is it right for the former governor? Would it be legally correct for him or his agents to argue that he cannot be arrested, this order notwithstanding, because they have an order, a previous order before this one by the EFCC?
Well, I'm having difficulty hearing you, but what I will repeat if I'm correct, and if I'm wrong, forgive me. But what I will say again, just as a point of emphasis, since I really didn't catch you, is that we cannot take laws into our hands. The EFCC cannot do that. If the EFCC were a party to the first order issued by the first court, then it's bound by that order. It is not for the EFCC to say, all right, the time has lapsed and therefore we will disregard it and go on appeal or go to another court. I don't know whether that captures the question because I'm having great difficulty hearing you.
Okay, let me try again. I'm wondering, so does it mean that the order that the EFCC say they've got is not enforceable?
Which order now?
That they can arrest, that they have an order to arrest the former governor. The warrant of arrest was issued by the judge.
Which is not enforceable.
The warrant of arrest is not enforceable.
You mean the order obtained by the ex-governor?
No. The EFCC say they have a warrant of arrest obtained as a result of these proceedings. So the question is, is that not enforceable?
Is the order obtained by given by the first judge enforceable? Don't you asking?
No, the one gotten by the EFCC, the warrant of arrest that the EFCC say they have, is it enforceable?
Oh gosh, the audio is really bad.
Oh dear.
Let me use my sorry.
Okay, we'll try and see if so the EFCC, is it better now?
It's better.
So the EFCC say they have a warrant of arrest for the governor. Is that enforceable? I think you're muted or something because we can't hear you now.
It's so difficult.
Okay.
to continue what you're saying.
It's coming through now. Okay, so the EFCC say, I'll give you one more shot. The EFCC say they have a warrant of arrest for the former Kogi State governor. Is that, in context of what you have said, is that warrant of arrest not enforceable?
The order given by the second judge?
Yes.
Are you asking if the order given by the second judge is enforceable?
The warrant of arrest that EFCC have.
Yes.
Is it enforceable?
Yes. In fact, if you ask me, I even wonder why the EFCC would need an order of arrest. You remember in the case of Emefiele, when he came before the siege of the Federal High Court, he refused. Is it necessary to have an order to arrest? It isn't. An order to arrest is simply administrative. So why did they go to the court in the first place? That's part of the confusion. The EFCC has power under the EFCC Act to take any steps, provided there's reasonable cause to arrest somebody on suspicion of commission of a crime. They are the ones who then made the mistake of going to another judge. If they hadn't, it would be different. But they went to another judge, and my point is that they can't do that if there is already pending an order before yet another judge. The question whether that order has expired or not isn't the issue. The proper thing to do would be to appeal, which the EFCC did, or to apply to set it aside, which the EFCC did not do. Rather, they jumped and went to another judge to get an order which, in my view, is not enforceable because they have violated the principle of you do not create confusion between two judges.
Pardon me, Mr. Bagoba, let me just read this bit, which I think I skipped while I was reading that part. He says that because you, here you say that they went to another judge. But Mr. Kutakpa is saying here that he filed that application, which was overtaken by the decision of the same High Court of Kogi State, which made the orders in question. So it's not that they went to another judge. He's saying that they went to the same High Court.
No, but there were two different judges. There were two different. It's not the same High Court. Well, the same High Court, but two different judges, and each of the judges giving different decisions. That's the way I understand it. Look, listen, Chamberlain, this thing is so simple, it does not require any complication. You go to court, you get an order, rightly or wrongly, because we know judges make mistakes. To the extent that you've gone to court, and this is what the ex-governor did, an order to not arrest me. Again, I emphasize, rightly or wrongly.
Okay.
The EFCC is bound by that order until discharged.
Okay.
The EFCC is bound by that order whether or not it has expired. The EFCC ought not to take the laws into its own hands by even going to arrest the governor during the pendency of the order, and going to another judge to get an order contradicting that of another judge. That is chaos. And I repeat, that is what the Chief Justice of Nigeria has frowned about and frowned against.
So the thing is, doesn't the same principle that you just stated apply for the order that the EFCC said they obtained? If the governor or his team don't like that judgment, shouldn't they also apply to vacate it and not prevent yourself from being arrested or offering yourself up for arrest?
I didn't hear a word of what you said. I'm so.
What I'm saying is, right, so doesn't the same principle of what you just explained apply in the EFCC's order against the governor? Can he then say, well, I won't obey this order, I won't offer myself up for arrest? Shouldn't they also go and seek to vacate that order as well, whether I obtained it rightly or wrongly, as you've said? Okay. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's the connection here, but Kayla, go ahead.
I don't know if you can hear me. I mean, can you hear me, sir?
Clearly.
Okay. Now, I think I want to be able to talk a bit about something that you mentioned before, which is conflicting court orders and how the Chief Justice of Nigeria has spoken up against it. But we still see it happening, especially in this Yaya Bello's case. I hear that today. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Good. So I hear that today that we're going to be hearing about that case. That case is coming up at the appeal court today, the EFCC trying to vacate that high court order from Kogi State. But I want to be able to talk about the processes in general. Is there a reason why we still keep having conflicting court orders? Is it something that cannot be helped? Is it an inconvenience, but something that cannot be helped?
No. It's not an inconvenience. The rules are clear on conflicting decisions. You know, there are hierarchy of courts. The first is the First Superior Court of Record, the High Court, the Appellate Court, which is the Court of Appeal, and then the final court, which is the Supreme Court. In order to have coherence and in order to have sense in what the courts say, there is an understanding among brother judges that if my attention is called to the existence of an order, which if I make my own order will contradict that order, I will refrain from doing so because that order covers the field. So the order that the ex-governor got, again, rightly or wrongly, covers the field of the question of whether EFCC can arrest him. That's really the issue. And whether the EFCC could then go to another judge and get an order that conflicts with the order of the first judge is the cause of the problem. That's the cause. So we've been dealing with this problem at the level of the body of benches and saying to ourselves, how do we remedy this very difficult situation? It was all over the election tribunals. A judge would give an order here, another one will give another here. And that's the last thing that we want to see in the judiciary. And as I said, the CJN has continuously repeated to judges, please don't give conflicting decisions when you are aware that another judge has given a decision on the same point. Whether that judge is right or wrong is a matter for appeal. And the EFCC rightly exercised its constitutional right to appeal. And I believe the appeal is decided today or tomorrow. So why didn't the EFCC simply wait? To have gone to another judge was simply a huge error. A huge error. I have always taken the view, apart from what we're saying here, that the EFCC itself is unconstitutional. The EFCC is doing the job of the ICPC. The EFCC, as its name implies, is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Okay. It is the ICPC. There's a difference between corrupt practices and economic and financial crimes. And in a particular case, the Supreme Court decided that the EFCC has gone way out of its remit. What is the EFCC doing with spraying of Naira? Is that the job the EFCC was created to do? So I think this is an opportunity for the Attorney General, who I know is very much concerned. And he said so when he was being, what's the word now, at the National Assembly, being questioned about
Okay.
his confirmation hearings.
We'll let you speak a little bit more on that particular matter, but we'd like to let our viewers know that there's a national dialogue on state policing happening in Abuja, which we'll bring to them now, but we will continue our own conversation here. But let me bring my colleague, Ayo. He's got questions for you as well.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Mr. Abubakar, there are so many questions to ask you, but perhaps by way of enlightenment, what is the difference between financial crime and corruption? Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Oh, dear. Well, let me believe that that is
the...
Oh, wonderful.
I can
so
hear you now.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to understand, maybe by way of enlightenment for the people, because every time we hear corruption, many people talk about money. Money is corruption. Of course, we all know that it's a lot more than that, but money seems to take the cake. So how does financial crimes differ from corruption?
So, money laundering, cybercrime, cryptocurrency issues, all the issues concerning what happens in the space, forged dollars, it's so clear. If you look at the Money Laundering Act, you will see the clear definition of financial crimes. And the question you ask is a great question because that came up in the case of Joseph Mobike SAN versus the EFCC. And the court said, what are you guys doing here? It's not your job. This is the work of the regular law enforcement agencies. And I was absolutely, petrified by how far the EFCC was going, that I wrote a letter to the then chairperson, Mr. Bauer, and we agreed to visit. And I visited him, and I made clear to him that the EFCC has got way beyond its remit. And I would go to court if he did not resile from the unlawful things that the EFCC is doing. Well, someone intervened, and I said I'd rather go to the National Assembly. This may be the appropriate time, because the EFCC is way out of its league. It's doing all the wrong things. And I'm not suggesting that the EFCC hasn't done good things, but the EFCC is doing the wrong things when they are chasing after people that do not fall within their jurisdiction. Like, for instance, stealing. That is an offense under the laws of Lagos State. That is not the business of the EFCC. So that's my point. So let the EFCC concentrate on the definition of its function in its statute, economic and financial crimes. So the other one is the ICPC. They deal with corrupt practices. So at the very worst, if I was the lawyer the governor of Kogi State, I would be saying that EFCC has no jurisdiction to even arrest me, because the relevant authority that should be dealing with my case is the ICPC. Public funds that are stolen amounts of corrupt practices, not financial crime. So the EFCC are even...
Just one more thing on that same one. So one of the things that one would wonder, so what exactly would you say that the former governor is being charged for? Financial crime or corruption?
I haven't read the charges. But if I were to surmise from all the drama going on, I would think it would be in relation to embezzlement of public funds. That's the way I would see it. I have no idea because I haven't read the charges. But if I'm correct, that would fall under the remit of the ICPC, not the EFCC. And I think this would be a very good opportunity for the Learned Attorney General, who's a very brilliant colleague of mine, to really take steps to set out the parameters of who does what. You recall that in one of the cases, I don't know where it was, I think Owerri, the EFCC and prison officials were openly fighting in court. Over authority.
Okay.
So this is the time to say who does what. And I strongly believe that the EFCC's power has been curtailed. And I will ask you, if you have a moment, to look into the decision of Joseph Mobike versus the EFCC. The EFCC's powers were constrained, very constrained. They keep to economic and financial crimes. Don't do and the police is the power to do. And the serious form of the issued rightly or wrongly, it has veered from its own statutory parameters.
Okay. Well, another issue that's necessary perhaps for people to understand when you talk about conflicting judgments, people wonder, because on the one hand, someone will go to a state high court, another person will go to a federal high court, get these conflicting judgments. What's the difference between the two, and is any one of them higher than the other?
Equal. There are only three superior courts. There's the High Court, which could be federal, FCT, or state. They're all equal, the concurrent. Then the appellate courts, and then the Supreme Court. So these are the three levels.
Okay.
So my point is, once a decision is given, as in this case, by a judge of coordinate, meaning equal jurisdiction, and you are aware. If you're not aware, that is different. But as I understand it, the judge who gave the second order was aware of the first one. So he ought not to. He would have said, look, I can't issue an order when there's an order from my brother saying that the EFCC should not arrest.
Okay, one last one.
Giving an order that he should be arrested.
One other quick one. Yeah, my apologies. One quick one from me before we wrap this up, sir, is the process that this whole thing went, the process of going to the former governor's house. One of the arguments is, look, we should have gotten a letter of invitation, and then there was a siege on the former governor's house and all of that. So some are saying that if there was a letter of invitation, the former governor would probably have gone to the EFCC's office by himself, but then there is a siege on his house. So help Nigerians understand what the process or procedure should have been before we got into this drama, as you said.
I would not like to make comments on what I don't have original information. But all I'll say is that there's a process in the Criminal Procedure Code, even in the EFCC Act, for engaging people that you want to talk to. But you recall the case of the judges where the DSS went to their houses in the night and broke all their doors. That cannot be civil. That cannot be allowed. So I don't know the facts of this case. But if you want to arrest somebody, follow the process. You either invite, or you don't even have to invite. My brother Femi Farada has said that a letter of invitation has no place in the law. If you have enough evidence to invite somebody or request him to come, then you do so. But you don't just. I saw on TV over 30 armed EFCC people carrying guns. I don't think that is how to arrest people. That offends somebody's fundamental right to dignity. But I'm not an expert on this part of the question you ask. But generally speaking, it will be important that law enforcement agencies, not just the EFCC, show dignity when carrying out arrest orders. That would be what I would say.
Before you go, because many say he was charged for financial crimes, and so he can answer. Was the AGF wrong to have said he should turn himself in, and was EFCC wrong to have declared him wanted? Oh, okay. Well, I think we're out of time on this one. Because the AGF did ask him to turn himself in, and then the EFCC declared him wanted. So many wonder, were those two processes also wrong? Okay, we need to go, unfortunately. We do thank you for talking to us, Mr. Olisa Abakoba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Usoh. Goodbye.
This is a live Channels television event.
Rounds of applause, please.
Thank you, Mokpe. Yes, I am the Executive Director of PLAC. Your Excellencies, I think the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, I would follow your guide. to say that I'm delighted. We do have the former presidents who are here, as well as their Royal Highnesses and distinguished excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to congratulate the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Mokbe, yes, it is the People's House. They have done quite a lot in terms of the work that they have been charged under the Constitution to do, to make laws, to represent us, and to carry out oversight responsibility. I'd like to thank the Right Honourable Speaker for convening this discussion on state police. It is a very important conversation going on around the country today, how to reimagine our security system, some even say security architecture. I think that when we look at the police, we do recognize the fact that their role in providing security in this country is enormous, that the Constitution and indeed national resources has not provided as much as should be provided for the police to do its responsibility. In 2020, the National Assembly, and I'm happy that the two chairmen of the Police Affairs Committees in both the House and Senate are here, Senator Hali Rujika and Honorable Usman Kumo, led the repeal of the 1943 police law in the country, the Police Act. That act was 77 years old, and the National Assembly in 2020 passed a new Police Act, which is still in implementation, and there are indeed lots of gaps in terms of the implementation of that, and the conversation is now, how do we ensure that the Police Act is amended? If you look into the files that some of you may have, this is the bill that the Deputy Speaker refers to, and this is some analysis of what that bill says. And I do know that around the country there is a whole lot of conversation around how we can get the police to be much more effective. I won't go into any particular conversation on either side of the divide, but there are lots of people who are very, very anxious that the police be reformed, that the police be given more powers, be given more responsibility. Perhaps that a way to go might actually be to decentralize the police in a way that ensures that the decentralization of the police safeguards it from abuse. A lot of people are, of course, worried that if you hand over police to state governors, that could pose a major source of concern as well because of the politically partisan nature of governors. So I think that in the conversation that will happen, and I'm happy that the two chairmen of the Constitution Review Committees in the Senate, Senator Barrow and the Right Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Okezie are here, that this would be a major subject of conversation as the Constitution Review efforts go forward. And I think, Right Honourable Speaker, it is quite a spectacular idea that this conversation is thrown open as a thematic issue as we go on with the constitution debate issues, and that you have taken the lead in putting this forward for the country to discuss. Certainly we do expect and hope that the review of the constitution that will happen will produce some significant difference in the way that the country is policed. And I think at that stage we'll all agree that National Assembly would have done justice to this. And those are a few welcome goodwill remarks that I do have to make. I do thank everyone who is here. I do particularly thank the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, who continue to partner with the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center as we work in support of strengthening the Nigerian legislative system. Thank you so much.
The Executive Director of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, Mr. Clement Wankwo. Please, another round of applause for him. They do a lot of technical work behind the scenes to ensure that everything runs pretty smoothly in the House of Representatives and also generally in our country. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to invite Her Excellency, Annette Gunter, who is the German ambassador to Nigeria, for her own goodwill remarks. A round of applause, please. You can go anyway, yeah? Is it possible for us to keep clapping until she gets here to make her feel very welcome? Thank you very much. Over here, ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning. Let me join previous speakers in asking your permission to stand on established protocols. Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here today to witness the opening of this significant conference on the National Dialogue on Security and State Police, organized by the House of Representatives of Nigeria. As the ambassador of Germany to Nigeria, it is a special pleasure for me to witness this important step towards fostering dialogue and exploring potential avenues for enhancing security in Nigeria. The discussions surrounding the potential introduction of state police demonstrate the complexities and challenges inherent in addressing security concerns. Let me underline at this point that the question of how to structure the Nigerian police, whether through a federal or state structure or both, is one that only the people of Nigeria can answer. The people represented by the Venerable National Assembly will reflect in its decision its commitment to charting its own path towards ensuring the safety and well-being of its citizens, as was just promised by the Honorable Deputy Speaker. In my home country, Germany, each of the 16 federal states have their own state police, their own police laws, and their own police training institutions. We will hear later in the conference in more detail about our experiences with this structure from my compatriot, the former German IGP, Mr. Seeger. Until then, suffice it to say that we have made both positive and also other experiences with state police. While the localized knowledge of state police is an advantage, the difficulty of coordination, competing mandates have often been a challenge. In my opinion, it is therefore less the structure itself that makes the difference, but rather how effective the respective police force is and operates. The good news is both structures can work. While the decision regarding the introduction of state police is yet to be made, the mere consideration of such a significant policy shift requires careful deliberation and comprehensive planning. Any such decision must be informed by a thorough assessment of its potential implications on security dynamics, mandates, financing, training, equipment, jurisprudence, and the rule of law. Today's conference does just that. It reflects on the wider-reaching consequences of the introduction of state police would have, and deliberates the potential advantages and disadvantages. It will therefore serve as an important platform for stakeholders to engage in dialogue, exchange perspectives, and jointly explore strategies for addressing Nigeria's security challenges. By bringing together representatives from government, civil society, and international community, this conference embodies the collaboration and careful reflection that the question of state police requires. I congratulate the organizers for putting together such a comprehensive and high-level conference. As Nigeria navigates these complex decisions, it is imperative that the principles of accountability, transparency, and respect for human rights remain at the forefront of any such security-related measures. The establishment of effective, inclusive, and accountable security institutions is essential for building trust and fostering stability within society. As a steadfast partner of Nigeria, Germany remains committed to supporting the country in its efforts to enhance security and promote sustainable development. Within our police reform program, implemented by UNDP, together with our partners from GS Foundation, Germany has supported Nigerian governments in their reform efforts for several years. The reform has already shown tangible results and effects, with improved training, equipment, more proactive communication, internally, externally, with support to the strategic planning of the police reform within the NSA's office. This conference today is partly a product of our collaboration. We stand ready to provide assistance and experience where needed, whichever way the Nigerian sovereign decides to structure its police forces. In closing, I extend my gratitude to all participants for their valuable contributions to this conference. I would also like to thank UNDP and their support to setting up the conference, made the discussions held here today, paved the way for meaningful progress towards a safer, more prosperous future for all Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Nigeria's partnership with Germany is certainly very valuable to us, and that's why you have been invited here. I like how she smiled when she talked about the positive outcomes of state policing in her country, and perhaps the multiple experiences that they've had. And I think that sometimes when you look beneath the smile, you might be able to tell that maybe it's not all positives. As she said, we will learn a lot more about their own experience much later as this conference progresses. But thank you very much for that goodwill message, Your Excellency Annette Gunther, German ambassador to Nigeria. We still have a few more to go. We also have that of the country representative of the United Nations Development Program, Elsie Atafua, who is here represented by Jose Levy, the Deputy Resident Representative of the UNDP. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for him as he comes up stage. It is a little bit funny, but just keep walking. Can he get a round of applause until he gets here? I'm going to solicit your help because my speakers are over there and this is where they'll have to speak. I hope it's not a long walk for you. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have in the room former presidents, leaders in the parliament, members of the federal government, traditional leaders. So I will also follow the example of my predecessors. So I ask you permission to stand on the existing protocols for the sake of time. Excellencies, I am deeply honored on behalf of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, to join this critical dialogue on security and state police. Allow me to commend you and your administration for the great leadership and the profound investments that you continue to make in consolidating Nigeria's peace and security. Before I proceed with my goodwill message, I would like to pay my respects to our gallant men and women who recently paid the highest price on the line of duty, ensuring the safety of this great nation. May their souls continue to rest in eternal peace. Kindly allow me to also applaud the esteemed members of the National Assembly for convening this conference and for their appreciation of the valued perspectives and insights of institutions, actors, and the wider population on the topic of security and policing in Nigeria. This topic resonates deeply with the sentiments and aspirations of Nigerians and has ignited conversations across the country, sparking debates and hopes for a safer and more just future. From a UNDP perspective, Excellencies, security is a development issue, and we strongly believe that Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG, in this case number 16 on peace, justice, and strong institution, is a foundational goal that underpins all the other goals to be achieved. Therefore, the prospect of a state-level policy architecture, which is at the heart of this dialogue, is paramount, given the imperatives of addressing the scourge of crime, insurgency, and various forms of violence that are impacting on Nigeria's development trajectory, thereby presenting a threat to the well-being and safety of all citizens. Excellencies, as we explore the prospects of state-level policing, I would like to also reiterate the multidimensional nature of security that challenges all of us to significantly address the complex structural root causes of insecurity. It is on this basis, Excellencies, that I would like to commend your administration for outlining the 8-point plan under the Renewed Hope Agenda. This plan provides a development blueprint which, if we all as partners align to, could complement ongoing efforts to bolster responses to insecurity. As I conclude, Excellencies, I would like to outline 4 key points for consideration as we advance the discussions on security and state policy. First, the need to promote the implementation of Nigeria's development offer in addressing the drivers of extremism through the Renewed Hope Agenda. Second, the imperatives of connecting the durable development solutions and the triple nexus humanitarian development peace approach as a pathway to local responses to terrorism. Important aspects for a concerted effort include, but are not limited to, A, fostering community engagement and trust through open dialogues, neighborhood watch initiatives, and tailoring interventions to local needs, especially the crime, peace, and security nexus. B, enhancing training and equipping of officers. And C, strengthening cybersecurity capacities to minimize cyber-enabled terrorism. Third aspect, the need to address governance deficits, particularly the manifestation of extremism activities in ungoverned areas, by promoting effective policing, rule of law and justice mechanisms, and others, as well as governance of natural resources and associated benefit-sharing mechanisms. Fourth, the importance of incorporating regional approaches into our reflections due to the regional dynamics at geopolitical levels. Thus, paying attention to dynamics in the continent, such as in Lake Chad Basin and in the Sahel. Once again, on behalf of the United Nations Development Programme, I want to congratulate Your Excellencies and your administration and reiterate that as we embark on the course towards state policy, let us draw inspiration from successful models around the continent and beyond, while remaining mindful of Nigeria's unique socio-cultural context. A generous funding from the Federal Republic of Germany has been crucial for these achievements, and we sincerely thank them in this area. We, as UNDP, remain committed to supporting these efforts towards inclusive dialogue, soliciting input from diverse stakeholders and leveraging the collective intelligence of Nigerians in reimagining policies for a safe and secure Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for the country representative of the United Nations Development Programme, Elsie Atafua, who has been ably represented by Jose Levy, who is a deputy resident representative of the UNDP. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you look around the hall, you might notice that our hosts and a number of other VIPs have just stepped out now to help welcome the Vice President of the Federal Republic, who will be joining us any moment from now. In the meantime, this conversation is going to continue. We'll keep taking the goodwill messages, but I'm going to crave the indulgence of whomever is speaking at that time, that we might need to take your speech all over again, because we will need to take the national anthem when the Vice President walks in, and also introduce him and also keep him up to speed as to where we were before he stepped in. But we will go on with the goodwill messages just to save time and to be sure that we are filling our viewers who are also watching us on different platforms live with the information which we need to be getting. So right now, if you will, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be asking that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gabwe Musa, OFR, who is here represented by Major General Kunle Ariyibi, be warmly welcomed with another round of applause, if you will. Please put your hands together for him for the goodwill remarks of the Chief of Defense Staff.
Your Excellency, the chief host of this dialogue, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, PhD, Speaker of the House of Representatives, may I kindly request that I stand on the well-established protocol by Maokwe. I am Major General A.A. Ariyibi. I'm Director Standard and Evaluation at the Defense Headquarters, standing in for the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gabwe Musa, Officer of the Federal Republic. And I will be reading his goodwill message this morning. It is with great pleasure and a sense of responsibility that I stand before you today as a special guest at this one-day national dialogue on security and the establishment of state police. The significance of this gathering cannot be overemphasized as we come together to address critical issues that impact on the safety and well-being of our nation. Today, we address one of the most pressing issues facing our nation, that is the need for a comprehensive and effective security framework. The security and safety of our communities, and indeed all Nigerian citizens, are paramount, and it is imperative that we come together to find sustainable solutions. The establishment of state police is a topic of immense importance and have been in the polity for quite a while. And it is gratifying this morning to see such a diverse and knowledgeable concerned stakeholders assembled here to deliberate on this matter. The need for a comprehensive and responsive security framework includes the establishment of a state police is undeniable, and the concerns and the outcome of our discussion here today will undoubtedly shape the law enforcement in our country. I encourage us all
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for rising to welcome the Vice President, introducing His Excellency Alhaji Kashim Shettima, GCON, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please, can we be on standby for the national anthem? National anthem as our prayer. O God of creation, direct our noble cause. Guide our leaders right. Help our youths the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow. and living just and true, great lofty heights attain, to build a nation where peace and justice reign. Amen. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Your Excellency, the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, ably represented here this morning by His Excellency Alhaji Kashim Shettima, GCON, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're welcome, Your Excellency, to this event today. We're really very happy to have you in our midst this morning, and thankfully, we had not gone too far before you came in. We had just taken the welcome remarks from the Deputy Speaker of the People's House, the House of Representatives, all right, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, before you came in, and a number of goodwill messages from Mr. Clement Wankwo of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, the German Ambassador to Nigeria, Her Excellency Annette Gunter. We've also taken that of the country representative of the UNDP, Elsie Atafua. We're just about on the one by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gabwin Musa, OFR. And I'm going to ask that his representative, who is here, Major General Kunle Ariyibi, please be back on stage to kindly start his speech once more. Your Excellency, you're welcome.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alhaji Kashim Shettima, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, our Chief Hosts, the Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, PhD, Speaker of the House of Representatives. I once again request your kind indulgence to stand on the already well-established protocol. I am Major General A.A. Ariyibi, Director, Standard and Evaluation, standing in for the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabin Musa, Officer of the Federal Republic. And I would be reading his goodwill message. It is with great pleasure and a sense of responsibility that I stand before you today as a special guest at this one-day National Dialogue on Security and the establishment of state police. The significance of this gathering cannot be overemphasized as we come together to address critical issues that impact on the safety and well-being of the nation. Today, we address one of the most pressing issues facing our nation, that is the need for a comprehensive and effective security framework. The security and safety of our communities, and indeed that of all Nigerians, are paramount, and it is imperative that we come together to find sustainable solutions. The establishment of state police is a topic of immense importance, and it is gratifying this morning to see such a diverse and knowledgeable concerned stakeholders assembled here to deliberate on the matter. The need for a comprehensive and responsive security framework that includes the establishment of state police is undeniable, and the outcome of our discussions here today will undoubtedly shape the future of law enforcement in our country. I encourage us all to approach this deliberation with open mind, to engage in constructive dialogue, and to consider diverse perspectives that will be shared. It is through collaboration and a shared commitment to the achievement of a common good that we can develop policies and strategies that will enhance the security infrastructure of our dear nation. As we embark on this dialogue, let me remind us that this would have profound impact on the lives of fellow citizens and indeed all Nigerians. let us strive to create a security framework that is inclusive, responsive, and capable of safeguarding the rights and freedoms of all individual Nigerians. I am confident that the insights and recommendations that emerge from this dialogue will serve as a catalyst for positive change. I look forward to witnessing the collective freedom and expertise that will be brought to bear on this important discussion. As I urge us to harness the powers of this dialogue in paving the way for a safer and more secure future of our nation. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this momentous occasion, and I'm eager to contribute to the meaningful exchange of ideas that lies ahead. Once again, thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, General, Major General Kunle Ariyibi, representing the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. We're going to be taking another goodwill message now, this time around from the Honorable Minister, Police Affairs of the Federal Republic, Senator Dr. Ibrahim Gaidam. Please, a round of applause as he walks up stage. Another round of applause. I think that sometimes we need to be a little more kind with our platforms. Sometimes even women, especially women on heels, struggle with these platforms. Thank you so much for coming.
The President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, represented by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kasim Shettima, GCON. The President of the Senate, Senator Goodswill Akpabio, CON, represented. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, PhD. The Chairman of the session, His Excellency Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Abdusalami Abubakar, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Balow Ibrahim Jibrin, CON, the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, His Eminence and other emirs and chiefs here present. Please allow me to recognize and respect the well-established protocol. It is my honor to speak with you today about a crucial matter that affects the safety and security of every citizen in our great nation, and it is one that demands our careful consideration. The recent spate of kidnappings, banditry, activities of terrorists, and communal clashes have cast a dark shadow over our country, causing fear, pain, and uncertainty among our people. These issues not only threaten lives, but also have severe repercussions on our economy, social cohesion, and overall development. It is therefore imperative that we come together to address this critical issue and work towards finding sustainable solutions that will ensure the safety and security of all Nigerians. As we gather here today, our objective is clear: to explore ways and means of addressing this issue, including the possibility of establishing a state police force to combat this ongoing crisis. As the Minister of Police Affairs, I'm here to highlight the merits and challenges of implementing state police in Nigeria. I will emphasize that state police can enhance local responsiveness, improve crime prevention, and strengthen security at the grassroots level. I would propose a model for implementing state policing in Nigeria, suggesting a decentralized structure where each state manages its police force under a framework that ensures cooperation and coordination with federal agencies. This model would involve recruiting, training, equipping state police officers to meet professional standards while ensuring that accountability and oversight mechanisms are in place. Furthermore, I would recommend an institutional and legal framework that delineates the roles, responsibilities, and jurisdiction of state police forces within the broader national security architecture. This framework should include mechanisms for information sharing, collaboration, and coordination between state and federal agencies to address cross-border and transnational security challenges effectively. I would stress the need for a comprehensive national dialogue, such as this one, involving stakeholders at all levels to deliberate on the implementation of state police in Nigeria, considering the unique challenges and opportunities present in the country's diverse socio-political landscape. This dialogue should aim to build consensus on the way forward and develop a roadmap for the phased implementation of state policing, ensuring that it contributes to enhancing security, upholding the rule of law, and protecting the rights of all citizens across the nation. The centralized policing system in Nigeria, though historic, faces challenges in addressing localized security threats effectively. It is evident that a more decentralized and community-oriented approach to policing is necessary to forestall criminality and maintain law and order. Establishing a state police has several advantages, offering the ability to tailor law enforcement efforts to local challenges, enhancing responsiveness to emerging threats, and strengthening community policing while fostering trust between law enforcement and local communities. One of the most significant benefits is the potential for improved response times to incidents and emergencies. Currently, the centralized nature of the Nigerian police force often results in delayed responses to local crises, as resources are spread thin across the entire country. With state police forces, sources and personnel would be concentrated within each state, enabling faster and more efficient responses to local security challenges. Furthermore, a state police force would be better equipped to address the specific security needs of individual states. By having a police force that is more closely attuned to the local environment and culture, law enforcement agencies can develop strategies that are tailored to the unique challenges faced in each state. This localized approach can lead to more effective crime prevention and community policing efforts, ultimately fostering a greater sense of safety and security among the populace. By advocating for a decentralized state police system that works in harmony with a centralized police force, we can achieve a comprehensive security framework that adheres to the United Nations statistical requirements, promoting peace and stability across the nation. However, it is important to acknowledge that the establishment of state police is not without its challenges. One potential disadvantage is the risk of political interference and abuse of power at the state level. Without proper checks and balances, state police forces could be manipulated for political gain or suppress dissent, leading to deterioration of the rule of law and human rights abuses. To mitigate this risk, it is imperative that robust oversight mechanisms and accountability measures be put in place. Independent oversight bodies should be established to monitor the activities of state police forces, ensuring that they operate within the bounds of the law and respect the rights of all citizens. Additionally, comprehensive training programs on ethics, human rights, and professional conduct should be implemented to instill a culture of integrity and respect for the rule of law within state police forces. To achieve this, we must analyze the current legal and constitutional framework governing policing in Nigeria, discuss necessary amendments for the establishment of state police forces, and ensure checks and balances are in place to prevent any abuse of power. Considering resources and funding, we must assess the financial implications, explore potential sources of funding, and prioritize capacity building and training programs for state police personnel. Oversight and accountability are paramount, and strategies must be put in place to ensure transparency and adherence to human rights standards. State legislatures, judicial bodies, and civil society play crucial roles in monitoring police activities. Public perception and stakeholder engagement are vital. Understanding public opinion and engaging with stakeholders, including traditional rulers and civil society organizations, is key to building trust and garnering support for this system. By examining successful models of state police forces in other countries, we can identify best practices and lessons to implement in the Nigerian context, showcasing how state police forces have effectively addressed local security challenges. An implementation roadmap is essential, outlining legislative and constitutional reforms, timelines, and phased implementation strategies, alongside capacity building measures for a successful transition. In conclusion, the establishment of state police force in Nigeria holds immense potentials for enhancing public safety and security. While there are legitimate concerns about potential disadvantages, these can be mitigated through the implementation of strong oversight mechanisms and comprehensive training programs. It is my firm belief that a well-regulated state police force working in harmony with federal law enforcement agencies can contribute significantly to the protection and well-being of all Nigerians. I urge all stakeholders to support this initiative for the betterment of our nation. Thank you, and may God bless.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please another round of applause for the Minister of Police Affairs, Senator Dr. Ibrahim Gaidam. He's had experience as governor, and he's also had experience as Senator of the Federal Republic and now serving as the Minister of Police Affairs. So I'm sure we can all indulge him if his goodwill message was very detailed. Part of what we kept on hearing with strong oversight, accountability, legal framework. At the heart of it all is the security of the Nigerian people. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to crave your indulgence to let me quickly recognize a few people who might have skipped during the protocol. Dr. Victor Aboluwade is here representing the Clerk of the National Assembly. He is the Secretary Special Duties of Parliamentary Security and National Assembly. We also have in our midst this beautiful morning the Minister of State for Agriculture, Senator Sabi Abdullahi. For me, it's no surprise that he's here. It's a National Assembly event, and I imagine that he would like to also come and felicitate with the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, time is fast spent, so I'm going to be calling on the Inspector General of Police, ably represented by AIG Ben Okolo, for his own goodwill message. A round of applause as he approaches the podium, please.
The President and Commander-in-Chief, ably represented by the Vice President, Alhaji Shetim, Kasim Shetim, GSN, our Chief Host, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. There cannot be a better time to have this dialogue on state policing in the face of our security challenges. The essence of this dialogue is to find lasting solution to the challenges to public peace and safety. There has been clamor for the establishment of state control police to complement the activities of Nigerian police force. Several arguments have been made to the need for the establishment of state police. Some argued that the Nigerian police force is not living up to expectation in providing the necessary security for the citizenry. Others are of the view that police presence is not felt in many parts of the country, especially in areas requiring security, such as schools, communities, etc. Some contended that even the cities, police presence is mostly felt in areas dominated by the rich. Others still argue that police performance is generally minimal, hence there is insecurity in the country. These and many other reasons have propelled the proponents of state police. The question that needs to address is, what are the challenges militating against police effective performance in Nigeria? These challenges are: 1, inadequate manpower; 2, inadequate operational equipment such as vehicles, arms and ammunition, communication equipment, drones, area surveillance, security surveillance, helicopters, armored vehicles, and so on and so forth. Inadequate training of personnel. Training and retraining is vital to achieve optimum performance. This has not been possible over the years due to underfunding or lack of funds for training of personnel. Inadequate office and barrack accommodation. Most police stations and barracks that were built since the colonial period have not undergone any form of renovation despite increase in the strength of the force. This has impacted negatively on performance of the personnel. On the issue of state police, it is the submission of the leadership of the Nigerian police force that Nigeria is yet to mature and ready for the establishment of state-controlled police.
This is due to the underlying reasons. One, there is no adequate resources in place for police infrastructure, such as police colleges, training schools, barracks, police stations, clinics, vehicles, communication equipments for the state governments. Again, there are potential for abuse of power by state political leadership. State governors could use police forces under their control for political or personal gain and undermine human rights and security.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Okay.
Correct this, please.
Please, I beg your pardon. I want to correct this. The President of Nigeria, ably represented by distinguished Senator